Thank you for the introductions and hello to everyone. I'm Karen Olsen and I would like to share with you a bit of background and some personal reflections on the webinar series and a bit of experience from the Sustainable Development Initiative for Article 6 on how for the last 6 years we have approached the science policy interface to promote sustainable development in the context of Article 6. But just a little bit of background on where I'm coming from. I am a senior researcher for 20 years specializing in sustainability transition research. And having for all these years worked on the science part, but being close to the negotiations, particularly the Paris Agreement, carbon markets, we saw the need for facilitating dialogue, policy dialogue on how to make research available to policymakers, particularly the negotiators. So we set up the Sustainable Development Initiative for Article 6, which very much is at the core of what the webinar series is also about. Looking at the interlinkages between climate and sustainable development, and to break down some of the silos of both research and policy communities that don't necessarily speak to one another outside of the communities. So while today, as VK has said, we will focus on the nexus of climate, air, and health issues, I think there are some lessons learned on how to find solutions and how to make the insights from research available in a policy context. I think that coming out of Glasgow from the Sustainable Development Initiative, which was jointly set up together with Gold Standard Foundation, UNEP-DTU partnership. And I should say that from next week, we're being renamed to the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. It's the same people, the same setup, but we are changing names. But just back to some of the personal reflections on how to make research insights relevant for policy and for evidence-based policymaking. I think that some of the key lessons learned from the Sustainable Development Initiative is that it is feasible. We're quite happy with the outcomes of the Glasgow decisions, having supported parties and decision makers, the negotiators, to access the knowledge and lessons learned from the past, the Kyoto Protocol, the CDM. And I would just flag a couple of the major trends that I think are also relevant for this webinar today, where I see that issues such as continuing what you could call a data revolution, open access to research and to sharing data, I think is very important also for the air, climate, health nexus, making both the data and the insights available to policymakers in a language they can understand. The connecting the dots, so to say, that we do these network events, such as today, sharing knowledge across different communities, particularly the Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda, making sure that interlinked data sharing for monitoring and evaluation for the SDGs, together with the MRV for the GHG emission reductions and other air pollutants under the Paris Agreement. I think that's very important. So I will just stop here with these reflections that we can also, at the end of this webinar in our discussions, focus on ways to promote research insights being the evidence-based for policymaking to take actions and help solve the climate and air pollution crisis that we all experience. Thanks.